Hi there and welcome to the Athletic FC podcast with me, Adam Leventhal. So Captain Kane saves England once again. Controversy for the USA as Balogun sees red after scoring against Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Belgium bounce back in spectacular style to see off Senegal. Well, here in the studio, we have the Athletics' Carl Anka and Liam Twomey. And we have to be honest, this could have been a very, very different podcast, but for the wonderful Harry Kane.
Yep. Dump the running order, inquest pod.
Yeah. Whew. That was close.
A little too close for my liking.
Yes. Yeah, it was. So USA, Belgium and England through to the round of 16. England coming from behind to beat DR Congo 2-1. Captain Kane saving the day, as we said. Witnessed in Atlanta by Jack Pitt-Brooke.
It was a very strange game. I thought that England was so poor for certainly the first 20 minutes when they went 1-0 down. It really felt quite a lot like Iceland at that point. England then turned around, second half of the first half, got back into the game, had a lot of chances, but really they needed Harry Kane, as ever, to sort it out for them at the end. He equalised with a header, then scored a brilliant second. And I think it's only fair to say after this game that Kane is probably England's greatest ever player. That's 84 England goals now, 20 in major tournaments. And England's chances of doing anything at this World Cup rest entirely on his shoulders. But I think on the other side of the argument, England was so poor again defensively for long stretches here. They conceded early on. Yoann Wissa hit the post at the end of the first half that would have made it 2-0 to DR Congo, and I think it would have been very difficult for England to come back from that. And I think anyone who's seen England defend in the last few games, I mean, they conceded so many chances against Panama, even against Ghana, they should have conceded a penalty. And I imagine that will probably come back to bite them at some point in this tournament. Maybe it'll be Mexico in the last 16, maybe it'll be Brazil in the quarterfinals, but I don't think this England defence is good enough to win a World Cup. I think part of that problem is individuals. The defenders they have out on the pitch are not necessarily top players. I think it's also structure. England are not as good as they used to be at pressing the opposition to stop them from attacking. So that's probably the biggest worry that I have as I prepare to go to Mexico for the last 16.
So yeah, Jack covering the good, the bad and the ugly of England. But let's start with the good, shall we? Let's start with Harry Kane. Jack calling him England's greatest ever player. Here's some stats for you. 84 goals in 118 caps. 31 more goals than any other Englishman. Closing in on the all-time appearance record, which has been held for a very, very long time by Peter Shilton. He scored 20 goals in major tournaments, 13 in World Cups. Joint 6th on the all-time list. Jack is right, isn't he? That he's the greatest ever England player?
Certainly on the volume argument. I mean, there will always be people that will argue he hasn't got a tournament win to his name. Maybe that changes this summer. Doesn't look super likely at this point. But if you just look at the goals, the longevity, I think, and increasingly him showing up when he's needed most, which I think we're so unused to seeing an England superstar be a superstar in the biggest moments, and he rescued England against Congo.
Greatest ever?
Greatest ever of the 21st century, I'll say. I think when the chips are down and the lights are bright, Harry Kane is there. In the cold, in the dark, Harry Kane is there. When you're in the little bit of the ocean where your feet can't quite touch the ground, Harry Kane is there. And look, it
sounds like this could be an England song.
It could be. Look, it hasn't always worked. He had a very poor Euro 2024 by his lofty standards. I think Euro 2020 was actually the tournament of Raheem Sterling more than any other England player. And I think Sterling's, that tournament, I think, is perhaps the greatest tournament I've seen of an England player start to finish. 21st century, if you want to put that amendum on. But it is incredibly rare for a top England player to go to this many tournaments and have this many good performances. Wayne Rooney only has one World Cup goal. And that was in a pretty poor game in the 2014 tournament where England crashed out of the group stages. So many great England players of the 21st century in particular have failed to step up. They've come into after exhausting Premier League seasons or had, because of the nature of the Premier League, they've had this sort of aggro and beef with other top 4, top 6 rivals, whereas Harry Kane's just come in and gone, I'm going to do whatever is necessary to put this team further forward. And that second goal is absolutely stupendous. I was sat next to Liam Farmer in the office, and I'm sorry, Liam, I'm going to tell the world that you asked Kane to pass it. You asked Kane to shift the ball, and then does that, and we all put our hands on our heads going, how on earth have you done this? Anthony Gordon running over to the corner afterwards going,
yeah,
too hot gesture. And yeah, we are not used to having, we being England fans, are not used to having strikers capable of that sort of brilliance in those difficult moments. It's been so often glorious failure where you have that shot and it hits the bar, or you spoon it, or you biff it right at the last minute. But Kane not only found a way to get that extra inch of space to get the shot off, but has that, I said on the Tifo podcast last night, somehow managed to find that extra 5 to 10% to go. I've had however many shots denied by this goalkeeper today. Jude Bellingham's had however many headers denied by this goalkeeper today. If I'm going to score, I need to do something extra special. I'm going to roof it. And just to take that extra second to strike the ball in a way that's going to go up instead of just on target or just left and right. It's phenomenal football player. And I think he sometimes gets put down upon because he played for a Tottenham Hotspur team that wouldn't win anything, or because of the fact that he's not the most captivating or charismatic speaker, but he is one of the best football players in the world, without a shadow of a doubt.
You can see it in the way his England teammates talk about him as well. The Anthony Gordon after this game saying he's having the best season of anyone's ever had other than Leo Messi. And I think even Jude Bellingham, who has often been accused of being about himself or having an individualistic personality, even he said Kane's the best England player ever. You can see the reverence in the way they talk about him and also in the way that they play around him. I think he's been helped in this tournament by the fact that Thomas Tuchel has selected a squad that, we've mentioned this before, which is basically the guiding philosophy is how will you play around Harry Kane, from the wingers to the midfielders. And that has put him in a better position to succeed, but he's still got to go out there and be the superstar when England need it. And I felt he wasn't in top gear right at the start of this tournament, and neither were England. But I thought he was broadly excellent in this game, even before he scored. The threat that he carried consistently, and he fully deserved his 2 goals.
And Kane mentioned it afterwards, talking about hero moments. Obviously, you can have the argument as to whether you want a team to be better functioning and not relying on just one ephemeral moment, albeit that's what football is about. So it is quite a nice thing. But that was Kane's moment, wasn't it? I know Jack Pitt-Brooke has been writing about this. It's a great piece. You can read it on The Athletic right now. That, Gazza had his moment against Scotland, David Beckham against Greece in that World Cup qualifier. People will remember this for a long, long time, won't they?
Oh yeah, this is going on the BBC montage. This is going to go on when Harry Kane eventually retires and receives all sorts of honours from the royal family. This goal will be part of the BBC News packages. We'll go, Harry Kane, remember when he scored this goal? Because I think it just exemplifies Harry Kane. Unlikely looking individual, picking the ball up in a frankly difficult space and then finding a way to score a goal that makes everyone go, how?
Yeah.
How have you done that?
And it flew in, didn't it? 94 kilometres an hour.
His ball striking is phenomenal. And he's never made a secret of how hard he works on how hard he hits a football.
And you can see from how he celebrates and how he talks about England. And I've got this slightly muddied view at the moment because I'm watching Dear England, the dramatisation. So I've also got his sort of
I can't
characterisation in my mind. But I know that it does mean so much to him, and you can see that, and we're going to miss him when he's gone. I mean, you were talking about his age. He's 33 now.
Yeah,
who knows?
He's only got probably 2 more World Cups in him by Lionel Messi standards.
But I mean, how much do you think this means to him?
I think it's massive because he hasn't been blessed with club success throughout his career. He's now emerging as a serial winner at Bayern, getting the trophies that his players deserve for a long time. And I think he's probably brought that validation back to England as well. And I think it's made him a better England player. But I think over time, he's also grown into the captaincy and become more of a leader. And you can see that he's not necessarily, a Churchillian speaker, but I think he's improved on that end. And I think his communication with his teammates is probably way higher than, and much more of a priority to him than it is necessarily his communication in interviews or anything like that. It's clear his teammates play for him, respect him. Tuchel obviously has a huge reference for his game, having coached him at Bayern as well. And we knew this before the tournament, but it's clearer than ever now. England will go as far as he takes them.
We've done the good. Let's do the bad now. How bad were England prior to that hydration break? Really, look, they had chances, and DRC had a wonderful goalkeeping performance, but England weren't functioning right, were they?
Can I shock you? I think I quite like that. No, I don't think England would have won that game if it wasn't for the hydration break. Jack said that was Iceland 2016 levels before the hydration break. And I'd say again, the gap between the start of the second half and the second hydration break, England were again very, very poor. This England team right now, defensive errors all over the field, individual errors that, to my mind, seem to have something to do with fatigue physically and mental fatigue. The wingers against DR Congo, Rashford and Madueke, were particularly poor. And I think their final ball in so many situations in that first half across were particularly poor. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka got the better of playing against his former club teammate in Marcus Rashford. And Nono Madueke, Liam, you'll be able to speak about this more than me, he does not seem to trust his right foot. And that is just going to inhibit so many things about this England team if you've got two wingers who... Rashford's a bit more comfortable using his weaker foot. But if they're not able to get past players and get that 1v1 separation from a defender and then deliver that final ball, then how are you going to interact with Harry Kane is nullified because you're meant to be helping supply this. Rashford was something we've seen a lot more now he's at Barcelona. He's now beginning to cut inside more and getting these big looping crosses towards the back stick, and they were successful eventually. But I think there's no surprise you saw the changes from Tuchel. Anthony Gordon obviously getting 2 assists for Harry Kane, but also Saka, who for all intents and purposes is basically playing on one leg and yet is playing at such a more efficient rate than pretty much any of the players who've played on the wing for England so far. So I don't know if Saka can play 60 minutes in the next game, but it might be time to start him and just see how much he can give you before you eventually have to take him off for his own protection.
And reverse it and have Madueke as the impact player.
Yeah,
I mean, you can speak to what Carl was saying there.
Yeah, although if the left wing is any guide, the one that starts the game is rubbish, and the one that comes on plays well. Yeah. I think if you're Tuchel, where do you go with Anthony Gordon and Marcus Rashford at this point? Because it just seems like the one that gets to go against tired legs does well. I think the wingers kind of hurt England defensively as well early in the game, because we know Rashford doesn't offer you as much on that side of the ball as Anthony Gordon does. But also, Noni Madueke's never been known really for his defensive diligence. And Congo, maybe they've been reading the English media coverage in the lead up to this game and the national crisis around the right back position, because they consciously overloaded that side and targeted that side for their goal. And Jed Spence gets drawn in. There's no one else, which would normally probably be the right winger, helping out. And Sipenga's completely free at the back post and finishes excellently. But I thought the wingers starting for England contributed to their problems at both ends of the pitch.
I wanted to focus on Jed Spence, because obviously mentioned there by Liam. He's seemingly the fall guy for this, and it's not that we're all pointing our fingers at him. Thomas Tuchel is pointing and shouting
repeatedly.
Yeah, but
it's strange, I have to say.
Yeah, well, tell me.
I think it is unusual to see a player repeatedly be the target or be in the eye of the England manager so often. There was a moment in the second half where Spence has a throw in and it's the attacking way is this way, and he stops and turns and goes, I want to play it safer. And Tuchel just berates him and he's pointing like, no, you have to play it forward. You have to play it forward. And you're sort of going, how is this helping him?
Yeah.
And for DR Congo's goal, Spence is marooned on an island because Konza and Guehi
have moved across
and doubled up, which they shouldn't be doing. And Noni Madueke has left him on an island. So there have been 2 or 3 times where I feel Jed Spence has been, he's been left at the scene of the mishap. But I think he has reasonable expectation. Go like, why have you all left me here? What do you expect me to do? I'm one of the newest members to this squad.
But is he looking like a player that should be in that squad to you?
In terms of his utility, I understood why Tuchel picked him, because I think he wanted a fullback that could play on either side. And the things that he said about Spence were he's basically the fastest defender England have got, and he enjoys defending. I don't think he necessarily enjoys defending two players at once, which is what he was asked to do for Congo's goal. But I must say, this doesn't shock me with Tuchel, having covered him at Chelsea. And it was part of my concerns about him coming into the tournament, is that his touchline demeanour can be downright petulant at times. And I've always feared that it doesn't send the right message to his players. And he typically has one or two players that he seems to pick on.
Yeah.
You can't always know in advance who they'll be, but it definitely seems to be Spence at this tournament.
Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Timo Werner got a lot of it as well. I mean, some of these players, their decision-making can cause a coach frustration, but like Carl says, I don't see how it's necessarily helping him. A lot of England players have dressed it up as Tuchel's got high standards. He's like this in training because he wants us to play a certain way. He is a very detail, system-oriented coach. You have to pass here in this situation. There isn't a lot of autonomy. Maybe if you're Harry Kane, you're Jude Bellingham, you've got a bit of autonomy. Everyone else has to play to the system. And that's always been part of Tuchel that I think can be grating for players.
Who plays at right back now then?
I think it's Spence. I think this is going to be the summer of Spence.
Really?
For better or worse, this is going to be the summer of Spence.
In a fashion sense, with the jaw.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, there are no other viable alternatives to right back, I think. And I think Spence's recovery pace and his appetite for 1v1 defending will be useful. What could happen if we get more than 30 minutes of Saka and Spence on the same wing? Because that, on paper, if I'm playing a football game, that works. So let's see if it can work in real life in single elimination in the Azteca.
Let's talk about that. How much of a chance do you give England at the Azteca, 1,000,000 miles above sea level?
2,200 metres, isn't it?
Yeah, I've over-egged it a bit.
I mean, they're the more talented team, but the circumstances of the game certainly favour Mexico. They've been playing in Mexico City already, so they're obviously born in Mexico, played at altitude, a lot of these players a lot anyway, but they're fully adjusted to it within the context of this tournament. England will get there a couple of days before and will not have that opportunity.
There is no time to get acclimatised.
I think the first goal is absolutely critical. If they concede the first goal, as they did against Congo, and put themselves in a situation where they're trying to break down a low block at altitude, this is a Mexico team that defended very well at this tournament. You're also looking at the right back situation. Mexico's best player, best attacker, Julian Quinones, is on that side. So they've definitely got the tools to hurt England. I think if they score first, it's looking very, very bleak, because England came on strong at the end against Congo. And I've been in that stadium in Atlanta. It's an enclosed atmosphere. It's a managed climate. You can push at the end. And I think they did overwhelm Congo in the end. They won't be able to do that, I don't think, at the Azteca.
Now to our discussion of the day, sponsored by Threads. Last night we asked our Threads followers, what was your first World Cup heartbreak? We'll come to them in a minute. First in the studio, ask you guys, what was your first World Cup heartbreak, Carl?
I'm going to tell you my first one as an adult. Ghana versus Uruguay 2010. So there's been plenty of England games where I've, as a child, England been eliminated and I've shed a tear and I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. England get eliminated in 2010 and I don't cry. Such was the manner of the German victory. And I went, oh, this is it. I managed to get through a World Cup without crying. Amazing. And then it happens. Luis Suarez.
Yes.
Asamoah Gyan. Oh, and he's missed. And I leave a restaurant known as Bongo Bar in London with my Ghanaian friends and my uncle. And I just start crying. I go, this is it. Football is just pain. And I will cry at every World Cup elimination for the rest of my life. So yeah, Luis Suarez, you're one of the greatest strikers I've ever seen, but I'm not a fan of yours.
No, I can imagine. Liam?
It has to be World Cup 98, England-Argentina. I'd only just got over Euro 96, which was the first tournament I remember and felt like the world had ended when England lost to Germany. And then the Argentina game, I'd fallen in love with the Michael Owen, the prodigy, like obviously everyone else. And that game, I mean, it's one of the great World Cup games, I think, in retrospect, for drama. Simeone, Beckham, and then the penalty shootout. It was just a kind of crash course in the hope that then kills you as an England fan frequently at major tournaments.
Yeah, there's quite a few people that agree with you on 1998. David Beckham's red card, that was another one that was raised. Italia 90, this is the same as me. I go back a little bit further. G. Rees, great song, great team, bad penalties. That's how he summed it up. Mexico 86, Hand of God outrage, but then having to applaud the second. That was from Random Fan Dom FC. Thank you for your takes in the studio. Thanks for your takes on Threads as well. For your chance to be featured in our next discussion of the day feature, head over to Threads, follow the Athletic FC and join the conversation. Okay, let's get back to the knockout action then. And to the USA's 2-0 win over Bosnia and Herzegovina. Reaching the round of 16 is only half of the story because Folarin Balogun sent off in controversial circumstances after putting the US one up. Henry Bushnell was there to see it all for The Athletic.
This was a complicated round of 32 win for the US men's national team. On one hand, they were pretty convincing and dominant. They beat Bosnia 2-0. And they never really looked like losing the game. And all around the country, tens of millions of people were watching at public parties, in their basements or living rooms, celebrating this team like they've really never celebrated a World Cup knockout win before. On the other hand, Folarin Balogun got sent off in the second half, the first player since Zidane to score and then get red carded in a World Cup game. And that's going to make the next round complicated. The US will play Belgium in the round of 16 without Balogun, who's really been, I don't know if you even want to call him a breakout star. He's just been a star that has elevated this team over the past 3 years, ever since he committed to the US in 2023. So it remains to be seen how the US adjusts without him. There's been a lot of controversy about the red card, the VAR process that led to it. The inability of the US to appeal that at all. So that will be a big story over the coming days. But this is also a night to celebrate. It's the second World Cup knockout win in program history. It's the first that wasn't in the middle of the night. The last one against Mexico in 2002 kicked off at 2:30 a.m. Eastern time because it was happening in South Korea. This is on home soil. The whole country is really getting behind this team. The coming week is going to be arguably the biggest week in American men's soccer history. And if they beat Belgium, the following week would be that as well. So everybody's really riding high, and I think they should be.
Yeah, a bit of a bittersweet one, wasn't it, for the US? A little bit of a red line debate in the studio, please, on the red. Definite red or unlucky? Pick your weapon.
It's a red.
It's a red.
It's a red. I know you can say you don't like it, but it's a red. You can't do that.
Why?
It's uncontrolled. It's dangerous, and it's a red.
But his body was out of control. That's the accidental side, right?
Sure, but you're not. It's a red.
Okay, it's a red.
That's why I think it's both unlucky and a red. You can't have any complaints, and it didn't look like the USA players had any complaints in the moment. Balogun didn't seem to protest. I think he knew the contact that he'd made, and he was just more devastated in the moment. It's clear he didn't mean it.
Oh yeah, he did not mean that in the slightest.
But unfortunately, if you stud down someone's calf reaching towards their Achilles, it's dangerous play whether you intend it or not. And so I don't think it's particularly controversial. It's a big shame because Balogun has been one of the best players in this tournament, and he's been, Pulisic is always the poster boy, isn't he, for the US? But Balogun has been their best attacking player, and now they've got kind of one arm behind their back as they take on Belgium.
To me, he is the straw that stirs the drink. Everything just works a lot better when he's there. He's because of the way the USA is set up to play with this very 2015 Tottenham Hotspur counter press. Balogun is your de facto Kane style figure upon which everyone orbits, and they use as a hook and to create what they need to do in that final third.
So you take the stirrer out and what happens?
It's a lot harder to get you drink, right?
But can they go on? Can they, speak to the fact that it has captured a nation now and carry themselves forward with other guys in the squad?
Yes, in theory. I don't think the squad has a player as good as Balogun within it who can play at number 9, but there are options, and because of the way Pochettino set the team up as a counter-pressing side, there are other means of attacking other than just supply the ball to Balogun. But I don't think there is going to be a player as effective at turning a half chance into a goal as he can. So it can be done. Belgium have been unconvincing throughout the entire tournament. It can be done. It will be difficult. But if you're the United States, if you want to reach a round of World Cup play that you've not reached in quite some time, you need to be able to do something that you've not done in quite some time.
The key thing is whoever replaces Balogun doesn't compromise that press, because that's what the US team has been based on under Pochettino. That's their identity. They win the ball high up the pitch, they attack quickly, and then they convert those chances. Now, that last bit could be the problem without Balogun there, because he's provided that clinical edge more than anyone else. And we saw in Belgium's game against Senegal, which we'll talk about, if you don't score enough goals to put them away, oh, sorry, Carl.
We'll get to it later.
Then they're not quite gone. And so I think the US have a real chance with or without Balogun against Belgium, but it's a shame, principally for him, that he'll miss the game.
Let's strike while the iron's hot and talk about Belgium beating Senegal. If you didn't catch the game, Senegal were 2-0 up and coasting towards victory. Belgium were arguing with each other. Yeah. Trossard and Tielemans were at each other's throats. And then Belgium, out of nowhere, turned it around. It was incredible, wasn't it?
My apologies to anyone in the United Kingdom who went, it's getting to like 10:30. Senegal are 2-0 up. It's the 80th minute. I'm going to go to bed now, because you've missed one of the most remarkable World Cup games of the 21st century, perhaps even in history. It's one of the, you were saying the latest comeback in World Cup history, possibly? Yeah. If you include extra time rather than penalties. I went to bed furious at what Senegal did, and I woke up even angrier. Abhorrent display from the sub-Saharan African nation. Boggles the mind at how poor they managed those final 15-10 minutes. Papa Thiaw there've been really, really big questions asked of him of essentially what you've got now is two bands of Senegalese talent. You've got the group that has been marshaled by Koulibaly at centre-back and led by Sadio Mane up front, and they've been very, very successful with Senegal in the past, most notably winning AFCON in 2021, I want to say. And then you've got essentially a new group that has largely been on the bench that very clearly, for outside looking in, should be playing now and taking over. And before the game kicked off, I went, Thiaw needs to make changes. Koulibaly shouldn't start. Play the young players, and Senegal should, in theory, breeze past a Belgium team that are in their own, do not have their golden generation anymore. They have aged out. And then he did, and they were 2-0 up. And the second goal is, that needs to be, goal of tournament contender? Absolutely.
It was incredible.
I've got a particular soft spot for a chest control of a ball coming over the shoulder. I think that's one of the hardest things to do in football. And yeah, Ismaila Sarr's control was fantastic. And obviously the finish was good, but the touch sets it up perfectly.
Ian Wright was on ITV coverage, and he was explaining how hard it is to get that chest contact. And I believe Roy Keane also said when you are trying to get that ball under control, half the challenge is keep your eye on it, and then also make sure your arm doesn't get involved, because it can so easily be a handball. And Ian Wright observed, if you're a defender or anyone in that, all you are doing in that moment is hoping the attacking player gets the touch wrong. Because if the first touch is great, then you are dead as a defender. And if they get the first touch correct, then it tees you up for what is nearly always one of the best goals you've ever seen. And it was a phenomenal goal. That should be a winning goal. And they threw it away through a series of deeply naive substitutions, where Senegal just consistently retreated further and further towards their own goal. Lamine Camara came on, and he's had a very poor tournament. This is a player who was being discussed by Manchester United fans, Liverpool fans, top 6 fans, going, "Oh, this Lamine Camara guy seems pretty good. Maybe we should have a look at him." And now I'm seeing many fans going, "Oh, maybe
and
not."
He conceded the
penalty. As well. Just poor substitutions, no emotional regulation, complete lack of game management, and a Senegal team that just completely lost their heads. There, no rudder, no handbrake. If I still had hair, I would be tearing it out. So kudos to Belgium for realising once they went 2-1 up that the momentum could swing. Congratulations to Romelu Lukaku, because you consider his very poor Qatar 2022, the fact that he came in, not only did he break up the fight between Tuchel and
he stepped in.
He stepped in. He's in a fascinating state. If you really remember the Lukaku of maybe 10 years ago, that now he's almost purely a facilitator now. He's still attacking that right hand channel, the half space, but it's a lot more about I am pinning centre backs with my body, and then I'm going to get flick-ons and knock the ball on for other players to score. I think Trossard is a phenomenal attacking Swiss Army knife, and that's really digging Belgium out of some dangerous situations. Look, if you're a North American and you're just getting into soccer and World Cups and you wonder why people go that 2-0 is a dangerous lead, there you go. Now you know.
Yeah, Exhibit A. And who knows, for a Belgium side that looked in disarray, that might be the performance, the comeback that just sparks them into gear. And it should now be a great game against the States. So Belgium were tested. Are you ready to be tested?
Let's do this.
Yeah? Okay. Shout out your name if you know the answer. Here we go. Day 22. Do you know which nation holds the record for most consecutive failed World Cup qualification attempts? Wowzers. That is a question
most
and a half.
consecutive?
Yeah. Do you know which nation holds the record for the most consecutive? Yes.
Is it China?
No. Think about a team that has never been to the World Cup, and you'd expect...
This is Carl.
Yes.
Is it India?
No. I'll give you the continent.
Okay.
Europe.
Right. I mean, like, they're obviously really small Europe. Sorry, Liam.
Yes.
They're obviously really small European, like Luxembourg or something.
Look at that.
Is it?
Very good. Very good.
I wasn't sure how long they'd been trying.
They have never qualified for the World Cup despite making 22 attempts between 1934 and 2026.
And they never will.
Done. Who knows?
Brutal.
There you go.
If it expands,
Well done, Liam. I like that. Okay, let's deal with what we actually have on day 22. More World Cup knockout drama, we hope. European champions Spain, they take on Austria. Switzerland play Algeria in the day's final game. Arguably the pick of the bunch, though, is Portugal against Croatia. And the Athletics senior news reporter Matt Slater is in Toronto for it, and he joins us now. So Portugal, they've struggled through their group with draws against DR Congo and Colombia, and then they got that win when Cristiano Ronaldo turned up against Uzbekistan. Are they any good from what you've seen so far?
Obviously, they clicked against Uzbekistan. Okay. Colombia was a very exciting game, good game, end to end. Certainly the sort of latter stages of the bits that I was watching live. Congo not so good at all, but then of course England have just seen that maybe that that's a bit more understandable. Look, I think obviously the conversation has been about Ronaldo, hasn't it? Obviously. And, are they carrying him? Are they playing with 10? Look, it feels like it's complete deja vu. I definitely had this conversation. I definitely wrote these stories in Doha. I know I did them in Germany. Nothing seems to have moved on. Portugal have got a good team, good players. Yes, I can see that unique skill. Is it unique? But that special skill he has that he still can do to a very, very high level. Is it worth the fact that he's not doing anything else at all? I think we've all got our views on that. But anyway, they haven't. They are still wedded to Ronaldo, and we shall see if that is enough against Croatia, who I have seen. They were good. They were good against Ghana. It was a really good game, and Modric, who of course is the same vintage, was fantastic in that game. Box to box, absolutely brilliant.
Now, we heard from Henry earlier on about how the US is obviously gripped by the tournament, considering how well the USMNT are doing. You've been based on the East Coast, Boston and Philadelphia. What's it been like there?
Well, look, I mean, it's a good question. I was really impressed with how Philadelphia have embraced the tournament, and it's quite an interesting one for them because it's a massive year. They're calling it their big year. I won't list all the events. I'm writing about this, but the 250th birthday of the country is a big deal for them because the Declaration of Independence was signed there. It was the first capital. It was a really important city in the War of Independence against, I wonder who that was, but it doesn't matter. Everywhere I went, people wanted to talk to me about the World Cup, whether they were soccer guys or gals or not. They wanted to talk about it. I saw volunteers. I saw signage. I think Philadelphia went for it, and I really hope Philadelphia gets what it wants from staging not just the World Cup but these other big events too. There's a good one at the end of the year for them as well. It's the 50th anniversary of Rocky, which of course is like their favourite sporting son. Boston, I got there the day they were packing up their fan fest, which I think kind of says it all really about why Philadelphia perhaps felt it really had to go for it. And while somewhere like Boston, which of course is a far more established place, maybe doesn't and didn't. Now they, of course, absolutely lucked out in getting the Scots there. And you could still see in the bars, half the taps of the bars were still, we've run out. And they were kind of still talking about it. So different. Philadelphia was more World Cup, if that makes sense. It was en fête, as they say in France for the Tour de France. It was a party atmosphere.
And Matt, finally, ahead of the tournament, like a lot of us, we were writing about the contentious issues of this World Cup. We're 3 weeks in now. Is there anything that you were wrong about at the start of the tournament? Anything that's changed your mind as well?
I don't know if I've changed my mind. I was wrong about a few things for sure. I was very worried. I did a lot of stuff on tick prices, and I was concerned that there would be more empty seats and that FIFA had overpriced these things. And that would be a shame, right? Because there'd be empty seats. Now, I have seen some empty seats, and I think there's some issues or some interesting questions to explore about some of these attendance numbers that are being posted. Germany, Paraguay, for example, there was a very stubbornly empty section over halfway in expensive seats that never filled. Now they were not on the concourse because I was checking. They just didn't come. A few hundred, and there were a few hundred missing at the Ghana-Croatia game as well, because I think some Ghanaian fans struggled to get in. Maybe there was some issues maybe with their tickets. There was a talk of some fake tickets. Tickets didn't arrive. Blah blah blah. But every other game in Philly was full. So I was wrong about that, and in some ways, it kind of, FIFA and Infantino with their insistence on these prices that America is rich enough, there are wealthy enough people here to pay these prices. They were right. And I was checking the resale prices. I thought they would come down more as well, but they didn't really. They remained stubbornly high. So yeah, I guess I was wrong about America's capacity and willingness to pay top dollar for live sport.
Matt, thank you very much indeed. Obviously, a lot more from Matt on The Athletic throughout the tournament. Just a quick word from you guys. Obviously, we've sort of stuck a flag in the fact that Portugal, Croatia will be a lot of fun. Spain, Austria, you looking forward to that one?
Very much so. I don't think we've seen even 60% of what Spain can offer. They were my pick to win the tournament before a ball was kicked, and I really excited about Lamine Yamal in knockout World Cup football.
Can they bubble up hotter than France's pot?
I think it's
because they're gonna face them.
They are the biggest problem France will face before the World Cup final. The ability of Pedri and that midfield in particular to circulate the ball should, in theory, be a poor matchup for a France midfield that doesn't necessarily always have the legs to regain possession constantly. I am saying this knowing that N'Golo Kante is just chilling on the bench menacingly, but we'll see. If Jamal catches fire, that is a problem for the France team in a way that I don't think England or any other European team really can shore up France. Morocco will be a problem for France if that game happens, because Morocco are very good. But yeah, Spain's the one that I'm very excited to see.
But Spain have to get past Austria first, and they need to raise their level a bit from what was quite a forgiving group stage for them. I mean, they've defended well, Spain, and they've controlled games. They haven't quite found that extra gear in attack yet, and I think that's obviously been heavily linked to the fact that Lamine Yamal has been so conservatively managed so far. But to me, it's a fun game because it's like the purest style makes fights of possession versus pressing. You know exactly what Austria are going to do. They're going to come at them really, really hard, man for man, pretty much all over the pitch. And Spain are quite well set up to deal with that in terms of having players that can play through and around pressure. But any mistakes could be punished.
Liam, thank you very much indeed. Carl, thank you to you as well. Thanks to Matt, to Henry, to Jack as well for featuring on the show as well. Remember, all of the World Cup coverage on the Athletic app is free to read, and there is some great stuff on there at the moment, so do get stuck in. We will be back with you tomorrow. See you then. Thanks for watching this episode of the Athletic FC podcast. You can watch or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.